Welcome back to Cloud-o-nomics 101, where today we're going to talk about getting above the value line with your cloud computing deployment. To do this, we'll look at three things. First, we'll remind ourselves of the Fruit as a Service demonstration from a few weeks back. Then we'll translate that into something called a PPF, or Production Possibilities Frontier Diagram. It's a fancy way of looking at two competing quantities and a fixed amount of resources. And then we'll take that and show how a fixed amount of resources can get us below or above the value line, which is where we want to be. Let's get started. Here's the container from our Fruit as a Service demonstration, where it was clear that going and buying the fruit and bringing it home and eating was a better deal than having to bring all those ingredients home, cut it up, make a mess just to produce it and have a bunch of leftover fruit. So let's look at this chart here and let's use this as a platform, as a service. All right, here is the PPF diagram. Now here on the bottom we have infrastructure, and here's other capabilities as a service. And here along this is where we're maximally effective at the edge here. And we'll have A, which is cutting the fruit, up to point C, which is eating the fruit. Now the way this works is that if you are to innovate or add more resources, you can push this boundary out. If you're less effective, the boundary goes in. But that's the way it works. You make decisions between what you want to produce, more infrastructure, more capabilities, which is what I have to ask you. Do you want to be an organization that produces lots of infrastructure, or do you want to produce capabilities and things for your customers? Well, that's the way it looks over here. So if we look over here on this diagram, if you're infrastructure heavy, then you're spending a lot of time producing infrastructure. Now, if you're an infrastructure company and that's what you do, then I guess that's your value. But if we're talking about a federal agency that is trying to produce services for the American people or products for the American people, then you want to produce more capabilities. And that's where leveraging things like FedRAMP come into play, where you can leverage a platform and produce more capability because you're spending less time either owning, operating, securing, or doing whatever it is that you need to do with that infrastructure. You're using the platform and you're producing more capability. The ultimate thing to do is to use that software as a service, where you don't have to own or operate or worry about a lot of things. You produce the maximal amount of capabilities for your finite amount of resources that you have. And that's really where you want to be if you're going to be above the value line. So I hope this was a valuable lesson for you all today. And when out there deploying your cloud computing services, I want you to ask yourself, what can we be doing to be the most effective and most efficient to deploying capabilities that our customers want, and how we get and spend most of our time above the value line. Thank you. Have a cloudy day, and hey, whoever gave me this poison apple, see me after class.